I think what's wrong with the creative industry today is that people think it's easy, and people think that if you're just getting started, you should make money right away. And I'm here to tell you it's not easy. It's not guaranteed. It requires a certain amount of insanity or ignorance to do it as long as I've been doing this. You know, somebody asked me the other day, how do they get paid to make things for a living? And my answer was start making things and get comfortable with being uncertain. You see, I started making things for a living in 1996. It's almost 28 years ago. For my whole career, I've made a living adventuring into the unknown. I've been paid to bring something from nothing to something for a really long time. You know, it's my job to see potential in a shitty building, to see potential in a shitty product sometimes, or to see a mural on a blank wall. To believe in something that doesn't exist is not for the faint of heart. One of my favorite artists is Neistat, and he calls it, this whole idea, the tolerance of uncertainty. I heard him on a podcast talking about this concept of the tolerance of uncertainty, and I wish he could have or would have talked a little bit more about it. So I reached out to him.
Yeah, that's why everyone who quits. That's why I would say 100% of the people who quit and be like, well, I was doing it, but I went and did this is because of I'd say 100% is because of the uncertainty. It's the thing. It's the difference between the people who are successful and make a living at doing it and the people who have to like cut and run and find another thing. The people who like are successful at it, they're willing to just live in that uncertainty for a long, intolerable amount of time that feels like it's destroying your life.
Over the years, I've built up a tolerance for uncertainty that would give most people a panic attack. For me, living in uncertainty is a must, and I'm at my best in those uncertain situations. When I've taken the safe route or gotten a job working in a cubicle or an ad agency and getting a bi-weekly check, it drains my soul. Building a tolerance for uncertainty is a prerequisite for what I do. I will say there is a rush when you receive accolades for being able to see what others can't. You're rewarded with more work, but you're also rewarded with more pressure. You're the one to get the credit, but you're also the one that gets blamed when things go wrong. I will admit, often my mind and my body, quite frankly, pay a toll for living in too much uncertainty. When I've been running too hard, or if I don't take time off, it messes with me. But I will say it also can be beautiful. You know, you see the next move, you see the path forward, you thrive on potential, and you mute the details and see the glass as half full. So here's some ways that I have overcome the intolerable times and I've built up my tolerance. Number one is collaboration. You gotta work with other people that are like-minded, and there's a sense of solidarity that comes with that. The second thing I do is I try really hard to not worry about step 17 before step number 1 hasn't even started. Another thing that I do is I go into situations and I'm maybe a little naive or a little bit ignorant, but I believe that I'm the one for the job and that I'm the best one for this certain situation. The other thing that happens to me a lot, and I try really hard not to let it affect me, is to be paralyzed by perfection. Anytime that I'm trying to make things perfect is when it usually goes south, because in a creative project, it's impossible for things to be perfect, and it's impossible for something to not come up and break. I've had to define what certainty is for me, and only me. You have to figure out what that certainty is for you. Your tolerance might be lower or might be higher. It depends on your personality, your family, where you're living, etc. But you have to define that for yourself. Here's some questions that I would ask someone that is just starting out or someone who is looking for a change. Number one, I would ask, what are you really good at? A lot of times when you're really good at something, you can live in uncertainty. What are you really obsessed with? What is out there that you can't not do? And then what is the worst case scenario if you pursue whatever is in front of you? And what are you willing to put in the reps year after year with no reward? The biggest reason I can pay my bills doing what I do is from doing it for a long time. That's a huge factor. When you start something new, there are no shortcuts. When you start something new, you don't get better by researching or waiting for the perfect timing. The only way to do it is to do that thing over and over again, realizing that you're gonna get, eat shit. And eventually you might get good, and if you're lucky, you get paid. Now, don't get me wrong, I am more uncertain than I am certain about things. Even making these videos makes me feel really uncertain. Who am I to give advice? Obviously, nobody's watching. That runs through my head. And I'm not really good at this. But whenever I take on a project that I'm uncertain about, I come out of the other side as a better person. I raise my tolerance for uncertainty, and I'm able to be proud of building a plane while in flight, and be proud of accomplishing something that I didn't think was possible. Speaking of uncertainty, I wasn't sure how to end this video, so I asked ChatGPT to write a call to action. If you're out there trying to build your tolerance for uncertainty, I want to hear about it. Drop a comment below. What's something that you're working on right now that feels a little bit impossible? Or maybe you've been building your own plane in mid-flight. Share that too. Uncertainty feels a lot less lonely when we're in it as a community. I actually hate that ChatGPT wrote it that way. You suck.